Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative, Congressman Tom Tiffany, is a very special guest today, Friday, June 10th, 2022. For Dryden.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Breakfast with Tiffany, a monthly live video podcast with our representative where we discuss all things going on in D.C. and the 7th Congressional District. We do these once a month, and you can find a recording of all of our previous chats on our website at Drydenwire.com, our Facebook page, or simply go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Drydenwire. Also, if you have a question for the congressman, or if you have a topic that you would like to suggest for us to discuss, please let us know in the comments. Tom, today is National Bae Day. Bae Day. Do you call your wife Bae?
No, I'd like to live to see tomorrow.
Well, I found out this morning that it actually means something. So I've heard that before. You know, some people call their significant others babe or honey or whatever. And one of them is bae, B-A-E. And I found out this morning that actually stands for something, and it stands for, there you go. It's for before anyone else. So that's what it is.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, yeah, no. I call my wife Jerusha because that's her name. That's safe.
Hey, you know what's kind of interesting? My dad, he used to call my mom woman.
My dad does too.
Hey, woman, you want to do it?
Yeah.
And you know, some people viewed it as derogatory. My mom never did. She saw it as a term of endearment.
Yeah.
And that was oftentimes how he addressed her.
Yeah, I do that for my wife as well every once in a while, just to, learn behaviors, because my dad did that to my mom, and mom didn't like that. So, and Jerusha, she tolerates me. I would say that's the best way to describe our relationship. She tolerates me when I say that.
Sounds like a happy marriage.
It is. It absolutely is. Hey, on this Tuesday, so we have, I'm sure, a whole bunch to get to. There's a lot going on. I wrote down just a couple of things that we, probably should address. But on our Positive Tuesday Ben and Fitzy show, myself and Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, we do this every Tuesday. This last Tuesday, he said that he was at a pancake breakfast and he was flipping pancakes, and he said, actually, Congressman Tiffany was there. I said, was he, meet and greet? Hey, vote for me or something? He's like, no, he was flipping pancakes and serving. So how'd that go for you?
So Fitzy didn't tell you all of the truth there.
That sounds about right.
No. Fitzy's very kind there, and I appreciate that. And it was good to see him working the line also. I was actually scooping eggs, and it was a terrific Barron County dairy breakfast at the Wolk Farm just north of Almena. And there were thousands of people. I was there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours serving. And when I left, there was a line that was, I think, in the hundreds of people long. And they got an efficient operation going. They got 2 lines going, all the rest. Still with that, they had a big line of people. Of course, it's a beautiful morning. It was a terrific event. Hey, and Washburn Counties is tomorrow, isn't it?
Oh, it's I know it's this weekend. Maybe it is tomorrow. I don't know if it was tomorrow or Sunday, but I heard it was this weekend.
Today's Friday, and it's tomorrow.
Are you going to be at that one too?
I'm planning on it.
Oh, good. Tell me, like you're breaking the news for me. Thank you, because I don't know where. Where is it? I mean, Washburn, but where?
Let me double check here. I think it's at the fairgrounds.
Oh, sure, right here in Spooner.
But anyhow,
okay.
That's going on this weekend. Dairy breakfasts across the district, and they're a blast.
Why are those so popular, you think?
Well, first of all, they serve good food.
That helps.
Second of all, it's inexpensive. And then third, I think so many people in our area, and including like myself, we grew up on farms. And there's this certain nostalgia and stuff for going back to the farm and just seeing how things work and all the rest. And
or a fairground.
So I think that's some of it.
Sure. Well, we'll find out what that is.
Washburn County Fairgrounds. Just checked.
Okay. What time? You put it away too fast. What time?
Yeah, I think it starts early.
Early. Well, that's right. Usually like 6 to 8, 6 to 9. If you're going to be there, I will.
The farm, you get up early, Ben.
I get up at 4:30 every morning. Whether it's, every day is a work day. So I will. Since you're going, I'll make sure I stop down there and we'll get a photo and we'll throw it up on our Facebook page.
That'd be awesome.
All right, cool. So what are we talking about today? I know what I would like to talk about, but what would you like to talk about?
I just want to share a couple quick things before we
Sure.
get into your stuff. One, we did an Academy Day in Superior
Yes.
last Saturday. Once again, going out, having Service Academy representatives meet with young people that are interested in perhaps serving our country at a higher level, whether it's at West Point, Air Force, whatever the case may be. And a significant commitment that they're making. And we had one of those in Superior last Saturday, and we have those regularly. And by the way, if anybody is interested, if they have a child, if they have a grandchild that may be interested in something like this, they can contact my office. We're happy to share the information. We always get at least a half a dozen young people from the 7th Congressional District that get Service Academy appointments, and it's just a terrific thing. When I get a chance to make the phone call to let them know that they've been accepted, and you can hear the joy in their voices over the phone when we make those calls.
At what age did you start referring to youth as young people, you think?
Oh, boy.
Because I'm at that same spot, too. And I'm in my 40s, and I'm like, these young punk kids. Young people.
I don't know. It was probably when Chris and I started having kids. That's probably when it was.
Hey, speaking of that, and I'm sorry, I'm way off the rails here already, which that's a typical show for us anyhow. My daughter, Radley, she's actually, in a few minutes here, she's graduating from 8th grade. So, there's a graduation, which is bizarre. I don't remember having a graduation after 8th grade. It was just 8th grade's over. Do you have any kids still in the house? I thought you had one.
We had one, but she's flying the coop here also, graduated from high school over here at Lakeland in Minocqua, and she is on her way. So, yeah, we're going to be empty nesters.
Yeah. Yeah. Your whole life. When is the last time so how old is your oldest?
23.
It's been 23 years since you and your wife have had to live together without anyone in the house. Predictions?
My wife wins.
That a boy.
We have a sign in our house that says on I think it's June 11th, 1962. It's a historical marker that we have in our house. June 11th, 1962. A husband won an argument with his wife.
I'll put one of those up as soon as I have a reason to actually put one of those up.
No, we've been blessed, and kids got a good education over here, and so really wish Catherine well. She's gonna go on and do good things, just like her sisters.
Aw. What else is going on over there, or in the 7th Congressional, or in your life?
Just that good stuff. Hey, we had another really interesting thing that happened in Marshfield, which is part of the 7th Congressional District. There is a world record that was set at the dairy breakfast in Marshfield a week ago. I think it was a week ago. I don't have this stuff precise, but it was about a week ago at the dairy breakfast. A family that does stilt walking as an avocation, they held the world record going back to 1978. I think it's the father of these kids. I'm not sure, but anyhow, it's the Wolf family over there. 1978 held the record for walking on stilts. Won it again in 1998. The Chinese won it in 2006, and they've had it ever since. They set the record last week, 54 feet, 1 inch on stilts. You got to walk at least 10 steps.
Really?
54 feet, Ben.
It doesn't sound like much. I'm just trying to picture 54 feet. Okay. How tall are the stilts?
The stilts are 54 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. The distance was. Oh, I get it now. I thought it was you had to walk a distance, and that distance was 54 feet. But I see. Holy buckets. Now that's different. How do you even get on those things?
I don't know. The height of stilts are 54 feet. I just heard one interesting thing, though, in regards to it, because we recognized them yesterday when I was in D.C. And the one interesting thing, you know where they practice?
Mm-mm.
In a silo. And it makes perfect sense.
That does make sense.
So, if you tip over, you're just going to lean against a wall. It makes all the sense in the world. They practice in a silo.
Repurposing some of our silos. That's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. So only
Anyhow,
two.
so that's interesting stuff from the
Yeah.
seventh congressional
Well,
district.
and that's, I don't know. It's kind of fun stuff.
It is.
So the only two things that I'd written down was, and it was just topics. Oh, and we do have a reader question someone had sent us short before we went live here, was just gun control, and that ties into a press release. It was a press release, but it was your statement on gun control that you sent out yesterday morning, or your team did, your staff did. So we published that. And then, of course, the very topical thing happening right now, January 6th hearing. So first, I want to start with gun control. So yesterday, you had your press release says, Rep. Tiffany statement on Democrats' gun control push. In there, you talked about the vote that had taken place, and you also had an alternative. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So we had this bill that we voted on before the full House yesterday. We had it in committee, the Judiciary Committee, last week. And of course, I serve on the Judiciary Committee, I think, as many people know.
Mhm.
And the thing that was interesting is that they announced that they were going to, we were off last week. We were supposed to be off last week. And after the Uvalde shooting, right away, Speaker Pelosi and Chairman Nadler, they announced last Tuesday, we're going to bring some bills forward that we're going to try to pass in regards to gun control. I just viewed that as being very opportunistic rather than being thoughtful about how we should go about the process. And it was interesting because during the committee process last week, we Republicans, we introduced a few different amendments to the bill that they had before us. And on two or three of the amendments, including the one I introduced in regards to prosecutorial misconduct or prosecutors doing their job, the chairman, he said, these are good bills, or good amendments, but we're not going to pass them here this week. Well, why didn't you come and talk to us? Let's be thoughtful about this and do what is actually going to be effective. Because at the end of the day, what the House passed yesterday, first of all, it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate, I believe. And but also, it would not fix the problem. And our fundamental problem, and I've been trying to impart this in the communications that we've been doing this week, is that we have a crime problem in our country. And these school shootings, the Buffalo shooting, the others, they're all part of this elevation of crime in the last decade. I believe it started about a decade ago, and it's really increased over the last few years. You think about the riots of 2020, and we're seeing crime really on the uptick. We have like 15 major cities in America. They have the highest violent crime rates that they've had in decades, if not ever. And it's because of this lawlessness. It's because of police are in retreat at this point, and we need to change that. So stop the defund the police stuff, which some are still talking about. I think about a few members on the other side of the aisle on the Judiciary Committee. They're still talking about defunding.
I thought that was not that's not even a popular thing anymore. Like it was for about a year, 2 years ago. And then it's kind of slowly gone away. And now that doesn't really seem to be because these things, the ebb and flow. That one seems to have gone away. I didn't know that was still being discussed.
Well, you talked to Representative Cori Bush from St. Louis on the Judiciary Committee. She still believes we have too many police. And there's others in what you would term the squad and the progressive movement that they believe that the police they are a problem yet. And so you still have that mindset that's going on there. But I would just say a few things to kind of summarize what I think. First of all, the FBI has been notified in a few instances. I think about the Parkland shooting in Florida, that there are real problems out there with a young person who perhaps has mental health problems and is acting out. The FBI, especially in Washington, D.C., they need to get their act together and make this a priority. Also, I believe we have enough laws on the books. We have dozens and dozens of laws that deal with crimes generally, including crimes with guns. Those laws need to be enforced. That's the first thing that needs to happen before we start passing new laws. I think another thing that, and I'm probably going to propose this at some point, and I've just been thinking about it, is that we're seeing studies um, in regards to antidepressants and psychotropic drugs that are showing that especially young people in their late teens, early 20s, that um, they're more prone to violence and to suicidal behavior. And that's been recognized in a couple of the shootings that have gone on, like
Hmm.
Columbine from a couple decades ago. I believe Parkland, this was the case. They were on these drugs, and there's real concern by some medical practitioners that when people, especially young people, are on these drugs, that it can cause them to be more prone to violence. I think we need to study that issue and see if that's part of it also. Let's put it all, let's take all facets of this rather than just saying we need more gun control. We need to take guns away from people. Let's study the whole situation and then try to come up with the best ways to go about this. I want to say one more thing
Sure.
real quickly.
Hmm.
We acted on this when I was in the state legislature. We did something about it. We passed Act 143. It's about 6 years ago. It was when I was in the state Senate. $100 million to harden schools. And there are many schools, including here in the Northwoods, that took advantage of that money to make their schools more secure. And so there are ways to go about this that can be helpful, especially on the school front.
So you had brought up a little earlier that it was from what I could tell, it was a partisan vote, the one in the House a couple days ago, or 2 or 3 days ago. And I watched the news that morning, so I watched the news from 7 to 7:20. That's the only 20 minutes of news I watch. And they all basically said the same thing that you did, that this is not going anywhere in the Senate. So when I look at that, and so I didn't know that part that you brought up, that we got called back in within 1 week. We have a whole bunch of things. It's a feel good thing, right? Because we all want to do something. We can't have this stuff going on. So it's okay, look, we're doing something, but you're saying that, yeah, but let's do it the right way. Am I understanding that correctly? That this was more of a let's just push this through because it looks good and it feels good. And I'm not saying all this stuff, I don't recall everything that was in there. Maybe some of that stuff was legitimate. That's fine. But it was, whoa, slow down.
Yeah, one of the 6 provisions that were in there, they broke the bill up for us to vote on this week. And there was a provision in there that I voted for, one of the 6 items that were in there. But it really was not a serious effort to deal with what I believe is the underlying problem in America, and that is crime. It's crime generally. And when you have the police in retreat, I mean, let me give you another example. When you talk about defund the police, oftentimes that's also kicking the school resource officers, those officers who are trained police. It's saying we're going to kick you out of the schools. Like in Madison and other cities around Wisconsin and America, they've said we want those school resource officers out. I mean, how does that make you more safe? And take a look at California. They just passed a bill out in California that says the school cannot report a student that, for example, has committed an assault to the police. Why would you prevent information from going to the police that may help them to deter the next school shooter? There's really these inconsistencies that go on. I just think we need to be more thoughtful about this, but it starts by reducing crime here in America.
All right, so one more question or follow up on the vote itself. So I'm obviously not in the room, and I'm not a political insider or a political mind. I don't know. I watch the news, I read things. Don't really know what's happening. So outside looking in, it's what they, again, said on the news, that this was not going anywhere. They knew it was going to pass the House. They know it's not going to pass the Senate. So just help me understand why then. And I'm not banging on Democrats here, because I'm sure this happens all the time. Doesn't matter who's kind of in control or in power of a House or a Senate or whatever. But if you know it's not going to go anywhere, it seems like a waste of time. So there had to be another reason for it. Or am I missing something?
Yeah, I believe it was a messaging bill. I don't impugn the motives on the other side that they truly believe if we just take guns away from people that this is all going to end. I there are people that do believe that if we just take these guns away, then we're not going to have that problem. But you look at it, they're garnering these guns, not always, but oftentimes illegally. And they're going to continue to be able to do that. So it ends up being the law abiding. The law abiding end up suffering as a result of it when they get their guns taken away and they're not allowed to have their gun to have a gun for self-protection. I would just a couple other thoughts I want to share. Sarah Mack has she's commenting on the side, and I really appreciate your comments, Sarah. And she says in there, we don't need another 50-year study. You're absolutely right, Sarah. But in regards to the psychotropic drugs and stuff, we need a study that's specific in regards to this to see if this is having an impact on young people's brains, especially young boy or young men, that is this having an impact that is causing them to be more violent? I think we need to be more comprehensive, and I think that would be a good thing. And she says, we need to act now. That's exactly what I was mentioning a few years ago when we put $100 million in the state legislature, when I was in the state legislature, to harden our schools. And by the way, President Biden said a week ago, hardening our schools is probably not going to be all that effective. That's not what I'm considering. I respectfully disagree. I do think we need to harden our schools. As much as I hate to see that, you do have to protect. You do have to put additional protections in, and most schools here in Wisconsin have done that, and some of them did it as a result of the additional money that we put in a few years ago. So I do think that there are actions that can be taken. Final thing in regards to this is that I really think we need to reconsider gun-free zones. When you read what some of these shooters are saying, they're saying we are looking for soft targets. Gun-free areas are advertising themselves as soft targets. Now, I'm not saying every teacher should have a gun or whatever, something like that. But like in Florida, I think they have something called the Sentinel program, where retired law enforcement or military can go into schools, and I think it's a volunteer thing. I'm not sure of that. But they can go in and they can be that protective person in the school. You know, perhaps you have a principal that is interested in doing this. Give them advanced training so that they're ready if they're interested in doing this. But we've made our schools soft targets now by advertising them as gun-free zones.
I never thought about that. That'd be like law enforcement saying this, stretch of road is not police enforced. Right? No radars. There's no cops for the next 2 miles. Yeah, people will probably speed. I know that's probably a terrible analogy, or I was trying to find some kind of a juxtaposition there of comparing those two. But yeah, I never thought about the gun-free thing. And we had Sawyer County Judge John Yackel on a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this. And this obviously, it just had happened, so he was on. That's why we're talking about it. And we talked about arming the teachers. Is that the answer? Is it gun control? Is that the answer? Is it really just having more police presence in schools? There's a lot of variables there. Is there a right answer?
I believe you give a variety of alternatives. Don't take anything off the table for a school. If a school board says, no, we don't want any teachers, any of our personnel to carry guns in our school, that's fine. That's a local decision. They can make that. But what if you have a school that has a principal who is highly trained in using firearms, and you have full confidence in that person? Shouldn't the school board have the ability to say, what, we're going to allow that particular person to provide a greater level of safety? I mean, many schools already have school resource officers, a policeman in the school. Let's find ways to make sure that we are protecting our kids in their schools. Unfortunately, in this era, that's what we need to do. But I will say just one more time, this is an offshoot of out-of-control crime in America. We have to go back to backing the badge, to respecting our police, making sure they're doing their job appropriately. But we have to get crime under control. And when you have these prosecutors in big cities, like the one that was just recalled in San Francisco this week, where they're putting people out on no or low bail, including violent criminals, you're headed for a real problem. And we need to generally get crime under control here in America.
Did you watch the hearings last night on national TV? January 6th?
I did not.
I didn't either. I was asleep because I was get up early, so I was in bed by 7:30.
Yeah, I was in flight from Washington, D.C. while they were going on, so I didn't get a chance to
So
see
what
it.
is your opinion about this so far? What is your view of this specifically, not the January 6th part, but the what's happening right now? What is your view on that? What's your take?
Yeah, to a certain extent, it's a little bit like the gun control debate where let's look at this stuff more comprehensively. There are significant parts of the January 6th review that are not comprehensive. For example, Speaker Pelosi's communications are completely off bounds. They are not included by the committee. Why would you do that? Let's get all the information. The American people can handle the truth. Let's give them all of the information in regards to this. The second thing is that they're not revealing that President Trump, a couple days before January 6th of 2021, he offered 20,000 up to 20,000 National Guard troops to the mayor of Washington, D.C. Now, the president cannot force a mayor to take those National Guard troops, but the mayor could have. She refused it. Why are we not talking about that? So I just say, put it all on the table and let's find out what happened here. We should also know what the FBI's involvement was because we've not heard from Ray Epps. Ray Epps was one of the Oath Keepers or whatever, known as a right-wing group. He was there the day before and the day of, and he was one of the people that was agitating. Why has the January 6th committee not called him to testify? There's many people that think, some people think that he may have been a plant by the FBI. Now, perhaps that's just a conspiracy theory. Let's find out. Call him before the committee. There needs to be a more comprehensive look at this if the American people are going to get the full truth of what happened on January 6th. But let's be on this one. I would not say this in regards to the gun control part of it, but on this one, this is clearly to distract the American people from the damage that's being done to our country right now. Inflation, energy prices, out of control southern border, out of control crime. Speaker Pelosi wants to change the narrative. And I don't understand for the life of me why Speaker Pelosi's records are not being reviewed for the public to see in the January 6th commission. As the Speaker of the House, she has control of security at the United States Capitol. We should be able to see her correspondence in the days leading up to January 6th to know what was going on there, because she and her staff know that, and it's not being reviewed.
Is it a committee decision to bring that in or not?
They refused to. The committee made it off.
So the committee is the one who makes that decision.
Yeah, the committee made that decision. By the way, I believe this is the first time this has ever happened. Speaker Pelosi would not allow us as the minority to name our members. She named Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger to it. We wanted to put other people on it, and she refused us being able to do it.
I heard that. I think yesterday, the news, the day before, like McCarthy was trying to, I think it was Jim Jordan and somebody else that he had asked, and maybe I think I'm thinking of the right thing, that asked to kind of go on there, and it was no. And it's, well, if you, I don't know, it feels like it should be both sides should be on this.
Whenever you name a committee, it is always tradition that the majority has the most members, so they're going to have the votes at the end of the day. They get to name the most members, but the minority gets to name their own members. Nancy Pelosi would not allow us to name the members to the committee. Why would you do that?
Why did she do that?
It's clear she did not want an honest review of what happened on January 6th of 2021 by denying us the members that we wanted to put on the committee, and also by making her correspondence off limits to the January 6th committee.
We had a question that was sent to us. Actually, I saw him on here a little bit ago. I think that's from a Dan Erickson. He sent this to us in an email this morning for live. And the question he sent was, yesterday, Rep. Cheney revealed that multiple Republican congressmen sought presidential pardons for their roles in attempting to overturn the 2020 election. Were you one of them?
I did not.
There you go. There you go, Dan.
I did. I did not ask for a pardon because I don't need one. And in fact, you could see how that has played out. There's an activist here in the state of Wisconsin who tried to knock me off the ballot by filing a lawsuit saying Tom Tiffany's an
That's
insurrectionist,
right.
January 6th, whatever. A judge, a federal judge, threw the case out and said that it is frivolous and does not have merit. So, I mean, that just reinforces the point.
How does this end, January 6th? How do you think this is going to end? Is it going to, how does this play out? When does this end? Are we looking at a few days? Are we looking at a few weeks? What happens at the end of this?
No, Speaker Pelosi wants to stretch this out to November.
What?
This is truly about trying to change the narrative from high inflation, high energy prices, the failure of the policies that have been implemented over the last year and a half. She's trying to change the narrative, and the only way it goes away is if the American people say in November, "That's enough.
That's enough.
We want you to deal with the issues that are before us, the record deficits, the record energy prices. We want you to deal with the substantive stuff, not doing sideshows like this."
I'm glad you brought that up. And I actually have this chart here. So it was from, shoot, where is it?
Hey, by the way, Ben.
Yeah.
By the way, Ben, if you're following the scroll,
No, if I followed that, I wouldn't be listening anymore. So there's a lot of
really
people.
having an active discussion here today. It's terrific.
Yeah, I wish I could read them.
Motivating people.
There was an article this week from the website 538, and the headline was "More Americans Concerned About Gun Violence." So there is a chart here. So it is showing, and obviously it's bolded the crime and gun violence. We already discussed that. So what I couldn't put on this because it was too much for the screen, the teal there is showing people's the poll from May, and the purple is showing where people are this month in June. And obviously the article was about crime and gun violence, so that's why they were highlighting that. But that top one, in May, inflation or increasing costs was over 50% of people that were polled about what is their concerns right now. And it's obviously just going up a little bit more. So that still seems to be the number one thing. So I feel really, really dumb. I mean, I usually do. But I thought a lot of this had to do with COVID when things were going up about a year ago. Just about every time you're on, you bring up propane cost now versus last year, year before. We've talked about this. I always assumed it was due to COVID and like PlayStation 5s are all on back order because you can't get this chip. And I always put this under the umbrella of COVID. Obviously, we're kind of getting out of that. We kind of have been for a while, yet everything is still going up. And I'm just talking about gas. I mean, everything. Why? I know that sounds so ignorant, but I guess I don't really know.
Do you have a question there, Ben?
Yeah. Why is everything cost so much?
Oh, yeah. I believe there's two fundamental reasons that one is the deficit spending. You go back to a year and a half ago when the American Recovery Plan was passed by President Biden, signed it into law, $2 trillion. Steve Ratner, economic advisor to President Obama, Larry Summers, economic advisor to President Clinton, both told President Biden, do not do this. You are going to set off inflation like you've never seen before. So it's this excessive government spending that is a big part of it. The second part of it is the rising energy prices and shutting down energy production in America, because we really are doing that, especially in regards to fossil fuels. It's basically really being stifled here in America. And that ripples through all parts of America because we use energy in every way, shape, and form to get our food to the grocery store, to heat our homes, to drive our cars. I mean, so rising energy prices and the deficit spending are the two biggest factors that are driving the inflation that's going on. COVID had a part to do with it, but we could be coming out of COVID and doing much better if gasoline prices were $2.50 a gallon like they were 2 years ago versus $5 a gallon now. I mean, it has a huge impact. And until we get back to affordable energy and stopping the deficit spending coming from Washington, D.C., this inflation is going to continue.
All right. Well, we're up against our... I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, to the graph that you had up there,
Hmm?
I think that's largely accurate of the Americans' views of what is going on. You look at immigration is way up there. People are
Hmm.
very concerned about that. Inflation, that is number one. Crime and gun violence has gone up, and you notice that I believe it's stated in a good way in that it says crime. This is it isn't just the school shootings
Mm.
or the Buffalo shooting, which has really put an exclamation point on this, but it is crime generally. And you can see it even in a city like San Francisco, where they recalled their district attorney because he's so weak on crime.
Yeah.
People want to be safe out there, and you have these district attorneys around the country who are not prosecuting crime. People want that to be done. And so it's all a piece of this lawlessness that's been going on in America, and it's got to change. And the American people, as you can see on that graph, they think it's
Yeah.
pretty darn important.
Yeah, and I think we all like the theory of that. We like the idea of that in terms of district attorneys and prosecuting. And a lot of times it's more of a diversion thing or drug programs, which we all like. We all support that stuff. And we like the idea. I like the idea. But I think in real life applications, I kind of just want to see bad guys locked up. I know that's horrible, but here's one thing. I just now noticed this. If you look all the way down there, I'm really surprised by one of those under COVID-19, abortion. That from May to June, that's only 9%. I was a little surprised by that one. I just thought that would be a little higher. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Man, I think we covered a lot of territory here today, Ben.
Yeah. We did. What do you have coming up this week? I'm sorry, tomorrow I will be seeing you and hopefully anyone else go out to the Spooner Fairgrounds in the morning, like early.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff going on, parades and stuff
Yeah.
like that this weekend. I'll be back in Washington on Monday. We have another 2 weeks before we take a little break for the 4th of July. Another 2 weeks that we're out in Washington, D.C., dealing with various pieces of legislation that are going to be coming before us.
Dave Armstrong. Sorry, that was just the last one, so I happened to look down. I met an oil driller 3 weeks ago. They were refused credit by a bank they had dealt with for 20 years due to ESG scores. I don't know what that is.
Ben, put that on our list for next month.
Got it.
Because Dave brings up a very good point
Good
there.
job, Dave.
And we should talk about that next
got
week,
it.
the ESG scores and issuing credit.
Love it. All right. Thanks so much, man. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Hey, and it's so great to see all these people engaged on the right side of the screen. We're so glad that you tune into the show, and we hope that we're dealing with the issues of the day, right, Ben?
That's kind of the idea. Like, we never really have a plan. Obviously, I just write down a couple of topics. I'm like, and then it's just great because look how much, I don't know, it's been like 40 minutes, and we've only gotten through like 3 things. And we barely even touched on the last one. So, again, we do these every single month. Typically, it's on the second Thursday of the month, but sometimes, Tom has, I don't know, flights and DC things and has to hearings and testimonies, so we can't do it. So it's usually Thursday, but sometimes it's on that Wednesday or Friday right before or after that. Tom, thanks so very much.
Hey, and remember, all of you out there, the new stilt record is 54 feet 2 inches if you're going to work on that.
Special thank you to our congressman for taking the time to make himself available and jumping on with us today. I'll see you next Tuesday for our 99th episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy with myself and Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald. And next Thursday, I just found out this morning, Adam Jarko will be jumping back on with us for a chat. Until then, for DrydenWare.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching and have a blessed day.